Hello, and welcome to this special 40th edition of What the Hell Just Happened? The vlog that isn't afraid to jump into the deep end of the press pool, even if it's only half full. I'm your host, Martin Gannon-Polar. This week, we turn our attention to the Democratic Party presidential hopefuls that will challenge you-know-who in 2020. But first, we have to report on the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing of A.G. William, not your average Barr, on Wednesday. Barr's shameless representation of the Mueller report's already in the history books. From this week on, he'll always be viewed as a political hack who used his position to mislead the public rather than protect us. And his refusal to appear before the Congressional Committee on Thursday only cements that guilt and shame. As Neil Young said, rust never sleeps. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, the Dems. We now have over 20 diverse candidates in this race. It's almost better to ask who isn't running, for gosh sakes. But in the marketplace of democracy, the best ideas win, right? Sometimes, and sometimes not. There are lots of factors that affect the electability of candidates. You may well ask, Martin, what is the role of the DNC? No? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for managing all the caucuses in every state. They decide who will be in the debates and even where they'll physically stand. They manage the Democratic National Convention and are superdelegates there. And they dole out money to the leading candidates. In other words, this machine decides who gets the juice and who don't. That's a lot of power. And none of them are elected to those positions. Maybe you remember the contentious role they had with Bernie Sanders when he ran against Hillary Clinton. They picked her. You didn't get a say in that. It was selection, not election. Back to 2020, where we must start with the mother's milk of politics, money. So how the hell have the contenders done so far? Well, Elizabeth Warren raised $6 million. Pete Buttigieg got $7 million in the first quarter, and Beto O'Rourke raised over $9 million in the same time. Kamala Harris put together $12 million, while Bernie Sanders amassed over $18 million, but Jumpin' Joe Biden earned $6.3 million in 5 days. However, the truly astonishing number has to be the box office take for the latest Avengers movie, which banked $1 billion in one weekend. Clearly, the Dem fundraising strategy now has to include dressing up the frontrunners as superheroes. Could you see Buttigieg as Ant-Man? Elizabeth Warren as Wasp? Maybe? I know. You're thinking, whoever it is, they have got to beat Trump, right? Well, choosing your primary candidate based on the philosophy of ABT, that's anybody but Trump, is not a product of critical thinking. Voting for the frontrunner out of fear is like continuing to smoke after your lung cancer diagnosis. I mean, it may feel good, but probably not a great choice. If you think motivating the electorate through fear is a good plan, I have one word for you: Brexit. Let's take a brief look at the leading candidates. We'll start with a lightning round of the killer bees: Biden, Bernie, Buttigieg, Beto, and Booker. Here are my impressions. Biden. Seasoned and savvy. That's code for old. He likes to give shoulder rubs and smell people's hair, and so far doesn't seem to think that's odd. But he could be Trump, who knows? Beto, a well-spoken guy from Texas. He's charismatic and young. But does he have the gravitas, I'm talking about balls here, to challenge Trump? Buttigieg, he's the anti-Trump. Young, gay, a veteran, speaks 7 languages, plays piano, and has executive experience as the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. But can he get the Latino and African American vote? Bernie. We all love Bernie. He's had the same talking points since before Sean Connery was James Bond. Bernie, you must really hate Goldfinger. He's totally supply side. Bernie's rally cries include raise the minimum wage to $15, Medicare for all, make college free for everyone, downsize the military, tax the rich. And he does appeal to the millennials, but he is Jewish. And the closest we ever came to a Jewish president was having Joe Lieberman as VP. Was that Oh, that's right. He never got elected. Next is Booker, a smart African American with urban roots and lots of chutzpah. But beyond his motto of where there is unity, there is strength, he hasn't talked too much about policy. Next, we'll look at some of the women who are surging in the polls, starting with Kamala Harris. She was the Attorney General of California, and she is now a senator. She's super smart, has articulated her policy positions well, seems unafraid of anyone and anything, and she is a woman of color. Not since Shirley Chisholm back in 1972 has there been an African American presidential contender, and she has the balls to beat Trump. Elizabeth Warren is also starting to pick up steam. The senator from Massachusetts has been a champion of the working class for her whole career, which included being a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard. She has taken on Wall Street, the banks, and wants to break up the social media companies so they'll be more accountable to you. Trump hates her, and she could beat him. Amy Klobuchar, the 59-year-old senator from Minnesota, is a true Midwestern liberal. But when she declared her candidacy, she stood in a snow shower and continued to speak even as she began to look like frozen Jack Torrance in The Shining. I love it here, Danny. I really do. But can she capture lightning in a bottle with her stump style? See, here's the thing. The key to 2020 won't be any one group, like white men or minorities, women, regional interests. It'll be the candidate who can get the 100 million registered non-voters off their couches on election day. The candidate who can inspire the uninspired will win the day. And remember, the DNC will actually choose that nominee. We just don't know who that will be. But all of us have a responsibility to bring electoral politics to our everyday conversations. Democracy is only as strong as the people who practice it. Thanks for watching this edition of What the Hell Just Happened. We'll keep practicing our First Amendment rights and speaking our mind. Bye for now.